Babe, let's get one thing straight. The World Economic Forum can't pass laws. They're not your government. But they are a global coordination room for corporate power, policy language, and future planning. And when the same solutions get repeated in every boardroom, every summit, every report, that becomes the direction of travel. So tonight we're not doing memes, we're doing receipts, because the real story isn't they'll ban your steak tomorrow. The real story is they're building a new food system where the default protein is engineered, powdered, patented, and easier to control than a field and a farmer. They call it stakeholder capitalism. The idea that corporations should serve all stakeholders, not just shareholders, sounds noble. But here's how it becomes power. They push common metrics, shared reporting standards that quietly become the entry ticket for investment, procurement, and policy alignment. So the question isn't, is it illegal? The question is, who sets the standards and who benefits when everyone is forced to play by them? Now let's go to food. The WEF published Meet the Future, a roadmap for delivering 21st century protein. That's not my words, that's their framing. And the message is consistent. Protein demand rises. Meat is framed as a climate problem. Alternative proteins get positioned as the solution. So when people say they want to replace meat, they're not making it up. The debate is how and how fast. Now the bit everyone feels in their spirit, bugs. The WEF has openly pushed edible insects as a credible and efficient protein option. That's the normalization phase. Make it feel inevitable, make it sound responsible. Make people who resist it feel ignorant. And this isn't just talk. Regulators are actively authorising insect ingredients. The European Commission authorised UV-treated yellow mealworm powder as a novel food on the 20th of January 2025, including use in common products like bread and pasta categories. So no, it's not a rumour. It's being regulated into market. It's guidance now, infrastructure later. And in the UK, the Food Standards Agency has specific guidance on edible insects and how they sit under novel foods rules. This is how it works. 1. Guidance. 2. Authorizations. 3. Ingredient supply chains. 4. Then it shows up in powders, additives, protein blends, pet food, animal feed, processed foods. Not because everyone demanded it, because the rails were built. And this is where Bill Gates comes in. According to the Land Report, Gates is described as America's largest private farmland owner, Farmland specifically, via his investment structure. Total US land in farms is about 876,460,000 acres. So even a huge-sounding personal portfolio is still a small percentage of total farmland. Meaning the point isn't one man owns everything. The point is farmland is being treated like an asset class, and the future food system is being built around finance, scale, patents, and dependency. And while everyone argues about bugs, the foundation is already here. USDA data shows genetically engineered traits dominate major US crops. For example, soybean herbicide-tolerant adoption at 96%, 2024-2025, and GE traits widely embedded in corn and cotton systems too. So when you say they want us on modified staples, you're not talking about a future fantasy. You're describing what modern industrial supply chains already rely on. Example, Denmark has moved toward taxing agricultural livestock emissions from 2030, widely reported as a first-of-its-kind approach. So the real play is make real meat harder to produce and more expensive, while engineered protein gets cheaper, subsidised and normalised. That's not a ban, that's a squeeze. This is the heart of it, babe. A cow in a field is decentralised, a farmer with land is decentralised, a local food web is decentralised, but protein made in factories, grown in labs, processed into powders, distributed through corporate rails, that's centralised. And when food becomes centralised, it becomes controllable prices, access, ingredients, compliance, approved options. That's why this topic matters, not because we're scared of change, because we understand power. So no, I'm not telling you they'll raid your fridge tomorrow. I'm telling you the system is being redesigned so you'll choose the replacement, because the replacement becomes the easiest option. And if you want to resist it, you don't need panic. You need literacy, local supply, real ingredients, and a refusal to be shamed out of eating like a human. Because when they control the food rail, they control the body. And when they control the body, they control the future. Here's the concern. When you combine digital ID and digital payments with carbon accounting, you create the technical capability to restrict spending or consumption by category. I'm not saying that's already law. I'm saying the rails are being built and the public should demand privacy protections and democratic oversight. Listen, this is why the food thing matters. Because it's not just eat bugs or don't eat meat, it's the rails they're building underneath everyday life. When you combine digital ID, digital payments, and carbon accounting, you create a system that can technically decide what you're allowed to buy, not by sending police to your door, but by making the checkout say no. And I'm not saying the UK has a law right now that caps your stake. I'm saying the infrastructure is being built, identity frameworks, digital systems, tracking, net zero reporting language. And once the rails exist, it becomes a policy choice. That's the part people feel coming. So that's the real question. Who owns the rules? Who decides what counts as responsible, what gets priced out, what gets pushed in, and who gets exemptions? Because if the rules are written by the same rooms that profit from the solutions, then it's not about saving the planet, it's about controlling the rails. Because once rules are baked into systems, into standards, pricing, supply chains, you don't need bans. People just slowly lose options.